In the early hours of January 26, 2020, Los Angeles was waking under a blanket of fog. But for Los Angeles, this day would not be remembered for its quiet beauty. It would be remembered for the loss of one of the greatest athletes the world had ever known. Kobe Bryant, his daughter Gianna, and 7 others boarded a flight that seemed routine, but the skies above Los Angeles that morning held a deadly secret. And within an hour, tragedy would strike in the hills of Calabasas. Kobe Bryant wasn't just a man on the court, he was the embodiment of greatness, standing tall beneath the lights. Every look, every stare was filled with the relentless fire of competition. He raised trophies to the sky, but his victories belonged to millions who cheered his name. Off the court, his proudest role was father nurturing Gianna in the quiet glow of home. With Vanessa, he found balance, a partner in love and life. She became his shadow, learning each lesson he had mastered. She carried his fire, her determination sparking with every bounce. For Kobe, every practice was more than training, it was building Gianna's dream. They were not icons here, just a family bound by love and laughter. Even in silence, he kept building a future of stories, plans, and dreams. To Kobe, her joy was priceless, more than rings, more than records. Father and daughter, 2 dreams walking together into destiny's twilight. Kobe Bryant and his daughter Gianna boarded the helicopter for a short flight to a youth basketball tournament. The flight was commanded by Ara Zobayan, an experienced pilot trusted by Kobe and his family. Alongside them, friends and teammates were on board, heading to the same game. It was meant to be just another trip, filled with laughter and routine. But conditions outside were changing, visibility narrowing with every passing minute. And with everyone on board, the flight lifted into a sky that held hidden dangers. For the first minutes, the flight seemed routine, gliding calmly above the city. Inside, the atmosphere was easygoing, families talking, teammates laughing. The pilot, experienced and confident, monitored every detail of the flight. But the air was not as still as it looked. Light tremors rippled through the cabin. On the dials, everything still looked normal, but the haze outside grew thicker. The calm flight began to change as a dense fog wrapped the valleys, swallowing the hills beneath them. Through the windshield, the world vanished, the horizon erased, the ground nowhere in sight. The pilot tightened his grip, relying only on his instruments to guide the flight through the blinding haze. Inside the cabin, a nervous silence grew, broken only by the tremor of turbulence and whispered reassurances. The instruments began to show erratic readings, signs of the helicopter's fight against invisible currents. In the outside world, the helicopter was now only a fading shadow in a sea of white. The pilot's senses betrayed him: no horizon, no ground, only the silent white void. Without the horizon to guide him, the helicopter slid sideways, trapped in the illusion of balance. Warning lights screamed, altitude collapsing, the Sikorsky falling faster than control could match. In the cabin, silence was louder than screams, every face locked in dread, every second stretched. Through the shifting fog, the hills below appeared and vanished, shadows rising from nowhere. With all his strength, the pilot hauled back on the controls, fighting a battle already lost. Then the Sikorsky vanished, erased from sight, as if swallowed whole by the fog itself. In a heartbeat, silence fell. The storm was gone, the voices were gone, the flight was over. Morning broke with a blanket of fog. Fire and rescue teams pushed through the soaked hillsides, searching for any trace in the silence of Calabasas. They found what remained of the Sikorsky aluminum scattered across 200 feet, the hillside steep, silent, and heavy with smoke. Within hours, investigators built a field base, sectioning the site into grids, cataloging each part as a fragment of the story. In a mobile lab, engineers extracted fragments of digital memory, milliseconds of flight data locked within scorched circuits. Radar replay revealed a sharp descent 3,000 feet per minute lost before the signal vanished behind the hills. A dense marine layer blanketed the valley, visibility under 2 miles, sealing below 900 feet, conditions rated for instruments only. In simulation, investigators repeated the last 2 minutes, watching instruments tumble as visual cues disappeared into cloud. The data showed no mechanical fault, only human limitation, spatial disorientation triggered by zero horizon and rising workload. Months later, the board announced its findings: no engine anomaly, no mechanical flaw, only weather and perception combined in fatal error. The case was closed, but beyond every graph and chart were names, memories, and a legacy that would echo far beyond the clouds. The news spread within minutes, every broadcast, every screen carrying the same shock that froze the world. In Los Angeles, silence replaced traffic. The city that once roared for him stood still beneath his banner. By nightfall, the arena steps became an altar, flowers, jerseys, and messages glowing under the soft hum of grief. At the Mamba Academy, the next generation stood where he once taught them, silent, united, unbroken. Across continents, monuments changed color: purple for passion, gold for greatness. Those who knew him best spoke quietly about work, obsession, and laughter between the games. Behind the cameras, a family mourned in silence: mother, daughters, friends holding what words could not. Tens of thousands gathered to say goodbye, each applause, a heartbeat echoing through the rafters. Out of loss, purpose was reborn, the Mamba and Mambisita Foundation carrying forward their shared dream. As every shot taken by a child now carried his spirit, discipline, fire, and belief. Across the league, games paused, teams held the ball, the clock, and the moment. Artists turned walls into stories, painted prayers that would never fade. His accident reshaped aviation policy, mandating terrain alerts, stricter weather limits, and better pilot training. Beyond trophies and titles was the relentless learner, father, storyteller, the man behind the legend. Legends never end, they ascend, leaving light for others to follow. Morning returns to the city that once wore his number. In the still air, echoes of a legend linger, softer now but still alive. Somewhere a young player unlocks the gym early. The sound of a bouncing ball answers the silence, carrying the Mamba spirit forward. His story became a guidebook for parents, mentors, dreamers to chase the impossible with love and discipline. Every lesson he wrote about work, faith, focus became words others live by long after his final game. Where tragedy struck, quiet peace now settles, the sky reclaimed by calm, the earth holding its memory with grace. He wasn't just the player on the screen, he was father, husband, storyteller, leaving a legacy stitched in love. From east to west, walls became pages of remembrance, proof that inspiration knows no border. His own words remain his farewell, simple, fearless, echoing through every person still chasing greatness. Look up long enough and you'll find him not lost, just transformed into light, guiding the next dreamer home. His story ends where ours continues, reminding us that greatness isn't measured in years, but in the lives it lifts. As night folds over the city, memories settle like starlight, quiet, eternal. From the storytellers who bring flight and fate together, Crash Deck Diaries. Dedicated to Kobe Bryant, Gianna Bryant, and all who shared their final flight. Their memory reminds us that passion is timeless and love leaves no horizon. Crafted with respect and accuracy by those who believe stories of flight should always be told with honor. Every week, another flight, another lesson. Stay with us for the next story. This was a Crash Deck Diaries production where every flight leaves a story in the skis.